Now, the book is called Dark Arts. It's Mike Ross's autobiography, and I'm delighted to say that Mike Ross is in studio. You're very welcome, sir.
Thanks very much. I feel a little bit overdressed. It's just a t-shirt.
I'm chronically underdressed is the problem. You've put me to shame. So you've been out doing media for the book. Was it a big process? Was it something that you ever thought you'd write?
No, is a short answer to that one. I wrote with Liam Hayes. Well, Liam did all the writing. So when he first approached me about it, I was like, can't think of anything worse. And but I did go and think about it for about a month before I embarked on it. And he sold me pretty well. And he said, look, not a lot of people get asked to do this. Mm-hmm. So, why not have a go? And eventually, we met about 12, 2.5, 3 hour meetings.
Right.
And over the course of that, the book took shape.
We'll jump in at various points. So you cover everything in the book, really, from childhood right the way through to the end of your rugby career. And the end of the rugby career, the way it happens with Leo Cullen after an Edinburgh game in March, jumped out at me. It is a fairly brutal world in many respects.
But that's what it is, And I suppose I wanted to know what was going on, because as far as I'm concerned, my contract was up in June and I needed a bit of yes or no beyond that, because if I was going to hang on, the way the market works, most of the recruitment is done by that stage. So if you're still on the market in March, it becomes a lot more difficult. You're kind of relying on maybe a medical joker in France, or someone getting let down by another player. So, and to be fair to Rugby Players Ireland, which are the professional body represent rugby players, they have it now that a player must know by March if he's being retained or not.
Okay. Describe the scene for people. It's not how they would have expected a career to end after 106 or 150 plus appearances for Leinster. It's not even, I think, a scenario Leo was that comfortable with himself.
No, and I think Leo probably realised, shit, this isn't really the way I wanted it, but it is what it is, and we just have to do it. So it was after the Edinburgh game. After the game in the RDS, there's a room in one of the side buildings where you'd eat your food, and he asked if he could talk to me. And so we went into this there's another quiet room there. I mean, the RDS is a bit of a maze anyway. It's a bit of a warren with lots of different rooms. So it's a small enough room, and he was looking around. It kind of struck him, go, yeah, this isn't how I wanted it. And he said, look, we should be sitting in my office, a bottle of whiskey. But of course, if I'd seen that, I knew it was coming. So he said, look, there's not a place for you next year.
And it really is just one sentence. It's short, it's to the point. I'm sorry, Rossi, there's nothing for you next year.
Yeah. And of course, I had a bit of an argument with him over that, because it was Tyga's breakthrough season. I said he's going to be gone for guts of 3 to 6 months with Ireland. Behind him, you have Michael Bent. But then what's after that? Andrew Porter was just after making the switch. There was no guarantee that he was going to be a success at tight head, because it's quite difficult to do. And in fairness to him, he's done a lot better than I expected. I knew he had the talent, but I didn't think he'd get the hang of it so quick. So I thought there was a room for me there, and I'd be quite happy. I just wanted one more year to finish up.
Because you make the point as well, you said, I'm listening to Leo say this, and I'm thinking, 3 months, I've got 3 months' wages left, my mortgage won't stop in 3 months, household bills, family lifestyle, I've got 3 pay packets.
Yeah, and that is the nature of professional sport.
Yeah.
I probably should have been a bit better prepared myself, but I thought I was back playing well, and there's still life in the old dog.
Kind of a visceral roar in your last training session.
Yeah,
it's weird the way it all ends, for any sports person. And you do your final run, and you say you let out this huge roar, that's it.
That's it. Yeah. This is the last fitness session I'm ever going to do.
Yeah.
Well, I've done some more since, but not certainly not organised like that.
Yeah.
We're out in the Astro and UCD, and we're doing running out to 22 or 30 metres and down, up and back, and doing sets of that.
Yeah.
So I don't think I've gotten down off the ground since.
And it's a big roar, and shake hands with the lads who you're doing the fitness run with, and you suddenly walk off the pitch, and surreal is what you say.
Yeah, it is surreal, because you've been doing it for so long, and the knowledge that once you walk out of that dressing room, that's it. You're not walking back in there.
Yeah. Like, your career is one of the more unlikely careers in rugby, and you've ended up with over 150 Leinster appearances and 61 Ireland caps and 2 Six Nations, 2 Heineken Cups. You've played in 2 World Cups. So for the bloke who's working in a lab in Clonmel at 26 years of age, that's a pretty slim shot.
Yeah.
You're not odds on there to do all that.
I should have bought some lottery tickets at the time, because that's pretty much what it was, like winning that particular lottery. Now, sometimes you just need a bit of luck. And, there's lots of guys for whom the luck went the other way and never heard about them. So, but thankfully that wasn't the case for me, and Dean Richards took a punt on me.
Well, you basically begged him, I would say. It's more
pretty much, yeah. I mean, like, he was humming and hawing, and I said, look, just give me a shot.
Because you were doing bits with Cork Con, and you were, the odd time if Munster were short of numbers, they might drag you in for a training session or two, and, Word, it's a small world, rugby, and Word gets through, maybe Harlequins are looking to rebuild, and they take a look at you, and then there's no budget, and it's begging, please, take me for a month.
Yeah, give me a month. And he gave me 3 months, actually, so get through pre-season, do some pre-season games, and look, we'll see where we are after that. And
you really enjoyed Harlequins?
Yes, I did. It's different. Playing with a club in England is different to playing with your province, because with your province, I mean, lots of guys are from the province. They're friends. They have local friends in the province. They're all their families around. Whereas you go over to England, you're on your own, and a lot of other players are on their own. They have no friends except for the friends in the club. So if you're going out for dinner, it's with guys from the club. If you're meeting for coffee, it's with guys at the club. If you're going to cinema, it's with guys from the club. So you kind of get, forced bonding, so to speak.
Yeah. And it's London, and you have a few quid in your back pocket, and your now wife Kim is there, and it's
no
a fun
kids,
time.
Yeah.
No kids.
No
kids.
kids. No kids.
No kids. So it's London with a few quid, and you're playing rugby.
Yeah.
Fun time. Like, what kind of stuff were you getting up to?
Just like, you go out with the guys at the weekend. Not every weekend, but some weekends, and you have a long. Do you have kids yourself?
No.
Okay, right. Well, there's
holding out.
This concept, is like Sunday brunch, where you just roll out of bed and walk down to. Well, that kind of goes away when you have kids, but it certainly wasn't the case back then. So I'd go down to the local pub, and there'd be board games, and you'd have lunch and maybe a couple of pints.
Yeah.
And then roll away home, happy with yourself, and then back to training on the Monday, and all was right with the world.
Yeah. Going back to Leinster, it was obviously something you kind of wanted to do. You wanted to make your imprint on the Irish team, if you could. We'll get on to Joe Schmidt, who you say at one point that you, unashamedly, I can say, I loved everything about him. It's Cheika that you first work under, which is a less straightforward relationship.
Yeah. Cheika came along and utterly transformed Leinster.
Yeah.
Really gave him a hard edge. But I think he had a good side and a bad side. And if you're lucky enough, you're on his good side, and if you weren't, well, he might as well have been in Siberia. I found it virtually impossible to get back in his good books.
Once you made a mistake in a match?
Once I made a mistake in the match, yeah.
His opinion of you firmly went into, don't want this guy.
That's the way it seemed, yes. I didn't really get a look in after that.
Yeah, for a long time, really.
Yeah. Well, no, I played a fair bit, but it was here and there, whereas when I was the Harlequins, I was 80 minutes every week.
One small gesture or moment in the book sort of stood out to me. Paul O'Connell, when you're down playing against Munster, I think it was.
Yeah.
It must have been against Munster, obviously. And it's just you're not even sure if you're interpreting it right.
Yeah, it's weird. It just stuck with me. It's kind of funny how it just stuck with me. And I've known Paulie quite well since.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I was there. I wasn't on the bench. I was cover subbing, so I was holding tackle bags, and I was just like, we're walking back in the tunnel, and he just walks past and squeezes my shoulder and walks on, and maybe it was just saying hello. How are you, Rossi? But I don't know. It just kind of stuck with me.
It felt maybe a touch more loaded than that. Hang in there, maybe.
Yeah, maybe it was, but probably doesn't even remember it.
Yeah. Joe Schmidt comes along, and you have your first sit-down meeting with Joe. And, people will remember the game, the semi-final before that in France. The scrum had been in a bad way, the Leinster scrum.
Yeah.
And you sit down and you're intent on letting Joe Schmidt know that you're the man to hold up that scrum. You're his guy, and you let him know that. Tell us about the first meeting and your impressions of Schmidt when he first arrived.
It was like after Cheika, who was quite could be a loud and boisterous character. Joe seemed like quite quiet and reserved, and no, we hadn't seen what was lying underneath there yet, but seemed maybe he might be a softer touch than Czechs, but as we were soon to discover, that wasn't the case at all. And like, he basically sat me down and asked, what do you bring to the team? And I was kind of, presumed, well, you're the coach, you should know what I bring to the team, but okay. So
I'll play your game.
Yeah. So I just needed to set my stall out, and my main point of difference I had over the props was my scrummaging. So that's what I put out there. And so now I said, right, okay, yeah, all right, but I need more from you. So, and he demanded more from us, and he demanded more from me. But at the same time, like, I tell the story in the book where we're in a team meeting, and a winger scores a try.
Yeah, nothing to do with you.
Nothing to do with me, right? And he turns around and goes, "That was your man." I'm like looking at him going, "What?" Joe, I mean, like, he's a bit quicker than I am.
Yeah.
But then he rewinds the tape and he says, "Look, you're ahead of him here. If you started running here when he got the ball, you'd have been in a position to catch him. It's not a question of him being quicker than you."
Smarter, harder, earlier.
Yeah.
That's the mantra.
That's the mantra.
It's one of the Joe Schmidt mantras.
Yeah.
You do say at one point in this book, the next time you see him, he'll say, "Rossi, are you giving away my secrets?"
Yeah. So I haven't seen him yet, but like, Joe, he's probably one of the most obsessed and driven men I've met about rugby. I mean,
you say he's the hardest worker you've ever observed in my life in rugby. That's what you say.
Yeah, because
and there's a lot of alpha males in there. There's a lot of hard workers, a lot of obsessives in that world, and he's still top of that bunch. So it's a big statement.
I don't know if he switches off, to be honest. I mean, he used to live nearby me. He still lives quite close to me, and his wife and my wife are friends. So occasionally he'd pop around to the house, and guaranteed he'd be in the den watching some games.
Really?
Yeah. So I think that's good from the Irish perspective. So if you're a player, Joe has watched you play, and he's dissected what you've done. And as you know, it's not like he hasn't given you the respect of watching you play before he makes up his mind.
Yeah. I heard Johnny Sexton speaking recently, and he was saying, different coaches have different strengths. One of the things about Schmidt is that he's actually good at everything. Some coaches are great man managers and inspirational, others are great tacticians, others are great delegators and director of rugby types. He said Schmidt can do everything really, really well.
Yeah, no, at the same time, there's guys who probably wouldn't be Joe's biggest fans, but that's the case with every coach.
Yeah.
But certainly, I mean, Joe, he's good at man management, he's good at tactics. If you're going to go and have an argument with him, you better come prepared. If you're going to say something to him, you better have something to back it up, because he'll ask for it and he'll look for it and he'll know it off the top of his head.
Okay.
I mean, I think he was getting a bit of sick 1 Nations about the Ireland were kicking too much, and he challenged the journalist who said that, saying, "Do you know how often we're kicking?" And of course the guy didn't have the stats to hand. Well, of course Joe had them to hand. So, as I was saying, if you come at the king, you best not miss. So,
and would you often challenge him over tactics or things that were going on?
Oh God, no. No. I stayed in my lane. But he listened to my input around the scrum.
Sure.
But I usually go to Greg Feek first if I had concerns, and then Feek would transmit that.
And in the main, then, I presume lads didn't overly get into defending themselves too strongly in the video room because they knew Joe would have the answers, or did they?
If he's coming at you, he has the evidence in front of him.
Okay.
Now, you might say, well, the reason I did that is X, Y, and Z. And as long as he understood your reasoning, he mightn't be as harsh. But if you just, for a stupid penalty, if you just leant over and slapped the ball off a scrum half stand, for instance, no reason to do it, just dumb, then he'd have no time for it.
It's big trouble. And what about his man management then? In what way would he have managed you as a person and got the best out of you as a person?
He's just very clear what he expects and what he wants you to deliver. And, if you deliver that, you get picked. That's the way it was for me. As long as I delivered X, Y, and Z, and he'd pick me. If I didn't, he wouldn't. So I think once you have that clarity, then it makes your job a lot easier. You're not, wondering if your face doesn't fit or if there's some other motive. But if if he has, like, he always wanted me to, you know, keep my feet alive in the defensive line, be accurate, my ruck clean out, you know, keep scanning in defence, you know, get my side up or get my angles in the scrum, give him a platform to play from, and as long as I achieved all those markers, then he was reasonably happy.
Yeah, you give some lovely snippets in the book, and we're talking about Mike Ross's book, Dark Arts, and they're just small, tiny things, but I remember, you know, you get a slight grin as you're reading them almost, like for Claremont away, where he knows it's going to be incredibly noisy.
Yeah.
I remember Declan Kidney famously played loud crowd sounds over Munster training to try and get them used to it. And Schmidt, kind of the genius that he is, went completely the other way. So in your defensive session, it had to be done in total silence, utter silence. You say like the defensive session is usually the noisiest session because it's all about communication.
Yeah.
And actually Schmidt took that away from you on the assumption you wouldn't be able to hear each other. So you have this totally silent session. And it's so simple and yet brilliant and clever and, you know, very effective as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, we started cheating and clapping so players would know where we are. But like we weren't speaking, so there was that. But it was quite inventive because you started relying a lot more on your vision and scanning and now you could still hear the guys around, you know, but they might be 10 feet from you instead of 20 feet from you that you could hear them. Yeah. So that was. I think I don't know if he still does it, but it really does cause you to focus on your vision and keep your head in a swivel. And
on the whole, if you had to boil it down, it seems he just got everyone moving faster, thinking faster, being sharper, and even then, I think particularly you say after that New Zealand defeat, that famous defeat at the Aviva.
What game was that? It didn't happen.
Yeah, skill under pressure and your skill set under fatigue. Actually, fatigue is the key thing because that came right at the end of the game. So, in short, he seemed he'd wreck you all physically and then make you do a skill session.
Yes, and that like one of my least favourite parts of it was he would run you between. He called it he'd drag one of those big tackle bags in different areas of the pitch, and you have to run between them with doing your defensive sets. You know, he might do that for 3 or 4 minutes, or he'd see what's the longest number of phases any international team has gone to and how many minutes ball and play was that, and then he'd do that. So like, I don't know, do you know what 4.5 minutes ball and play is like?
I'd say it's tiring.
Yeah, it's tiring.
Especially for the 18%ers, as you call the forwards.
Yeah, well, if I would be so lucky to tell that.
It's a body fat reference. So, Schmidt you love. I mean, Matt O'Connor was here and gone very quickly. You certainly paint a scene of where he gave you a proper dressing down in his office in his second season. That was one of those things where it didn't work as well. Like if people are wondering about you and O'Connor. Yeah.
No, look, I wouldn't have been my favourite person at the time. But that happens.
Is it because he didn't rate you?
I don't know. It just seemed like different from Joe. I mean, Joe would probably be more cold logic and emotionless. Matt was probably a bit more the other way. You know, so maybe it's just an Australian trait. I don't know, but it just like I just hadn't been talked to by a coach like that ever.
You said you felt like an academy kid.
Yeah.
Proper dressing down.
Instead of a guy with, 40 odd caps at that stage, So there's a way of delivering your message, and I'm a firm believer in that. You can get your message across without resorting to that kind of style. So
because you lose the player then as well as the thing.
Oh yeah, I didn't want anything to do with him after that.
To the point where you're, Ulster or half sniffing around and you're thinking, geez, I might just do this for my last year's central contract. So like that's the damage it does, that kind of dressing down.
Yeah, well, it just seems like, well, I'm finished here. Like if this is the way he feels, then I'm not going to be picked for the remaining 18 months of my contract. And I'm 34, 35 at that stage. I mean, do I really want to spend my last year, holding tackle bags?
Yeah. Because
I wanted to get every bit out of my career that I could, and but then in the end, it would, he left the club and Leo came in and it worked out.
Yeah, and you say, I mean, even I know that first season didn't go well, but you said everybody at the club, when Leo was announced, there was lots of nodding heads in the dressing room in a sense that this guy's going to do a good job, and we've seen the job he's done. I hadn't fully realised, not that it's surprising, but I hadn't fully realised the extent to which the Lions omission in 2013 upset you and disappointed you, and the names Cole, Jones, Stevens were like a dagger through the heart as you sat there watching the
Well, it was
announcements?
mostly Stevens because he didn't even factor into my thinking.
Yeah, he was out at the international setup at that stage. But
Yeah, I thought it was between myself and who's the Scottish guy who was there at the time? It'll come to me in a sec. But I thought it was myself and him, and because Stevens had retired from the international game,
yeah,
didn't really factor. And Leinster had we've been a very successful European team, but Ireland had a horror Six Nations, and I think that probably didn't help me.
And the moment when it's announced, you kind of
Ewan Murray.
You have to leave the room basically and say, I need to go up and literally cry on my bed here for a while.
No tears. No, very strong. No, I just had to sit there and just kind of all right, yeah. But at the same time, it wasn't like the door was shut. I mean, one injury I could be in.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it was all loose head props that fell over and not tight heads.
Yes, there's a succession of loose heads who keep having to drop out of the squad, and you just want one measly tight head.
Yeah. Come on, stub your ankle in the shower, do something.
It was enjoyable for me to get a feel for what goes on in the scrum, because obviously I don't know. And you talk about it in a lot of depth. You're a big nerd when it comes to the scrum. I think we knew that anyway. There's lots of bits and bobs. Even the Argentinian style of scrummaging. Yeah. The Bajada.
I'm not Biada. I'm not going to try and pronounce it.
Where so everything goes through the hooker. It's like an arrow. Yeah. So we get a good insight there. You do make the point that you quickly realised in professional rugby, referees do not know what is going on here. 99%
of the time they probably don't. I mean, some of them have a better idea than others, but it's our own fault too. I mean, any particular scrum, if it goes down, there could be 3 or 4 people at fault. So, and having to try and tangle that out. Now, I'm a strong advocate there should be like a man in the van, preferably a prop, watching the video, and he could just be whispering sweet nothings in the referee's ear. But so if you're listening, I'll put my hand up for that one.
Yeah, creating a job for yourself.
Yeah.
Of the second rows who scrummaged down beside you, Paul O'Connell, you feel was maybe the best, the most complete in terms of scrummaging.
Yeah, he could do everything. I mean, generally you've grunt locks and you've athletic locks.
Yeah.
And Paul, he could do both roles equally well. He saved me from some bad scrum engagements at the time because he was just like a sleeper in the ground behind me. So I was able to readjust without going backwards.
Brad Thorne really impressed you too in that respect.
Yeah, I've had some good ones in fairness.
Yeah, Brad Thorne, Paul O'Connell.
Paul O'Connell, yeah.
You said it was funny describing Thorne's arrival at the province at Leinster because it was everybody trying to impress the new guy as opposed to the other way around. A bit of FaceTime with Brad. Yeah,
well, he was a very impressive guy. I mean, he was probably 36, 37 at that stage, and he just brought a new level of professionalism with him. A lot of the guys were peppering him with questions to see how he'd maintained himself to that age. Because guys like Jamie Heaslip, who probably would have reached that age except for that back injury he had.
There's Thorne there, a picture of him popped up.
Yeah.
And what kind of character was he?
He was a very gruff man's man.
Okay.
Really
nonsense.
No nonsense. Quite enjoyed him. The guys tried to get him into body grooming when he got there, and he was having none of it. None of it. He said, "This is my main mate." Yeah.
And even in the weights room, you kind of noticed he's in between heavy weight sessions. He's doing his core exercises in the gaps. This was efficiency.
There was no downtime.
Yeah. You reckon he stretched for an hour a day?
Yeah. You see him in the gym before every session, stretching. So a lot of the guys took a lot from that. And you see them now, they bring mobility balls with them and foam rollers and all that sort of thing. And
how many minutes a day were you stretching around that time?
Not an hour.
4 to 5.
Yeah. Before sessions.
Yeah. But I get the overall sense, so you missed out on the 2 Grand Slams, a bit of a pity. They bookend your career slightly. But you do get the 2 World Cups in and the Heineken Cup success we've mentioned, and you pass the 50 cap mark for Ireland and keep on going, and 150 caps for Leinster and your time with Harlequins. I definitely got the sense, of course there are regrets, but on the whole, this has just been unbelievable bonus territory, and you could retire with a certain peace of mind.
Yeah, I mean, look, I suppose that's just every sports person is greedy. They always want more. guys will always retire with regrets. I'm sure when Johnny Sexton eventually retires, he'll have regrets. Or Rob Kearney, even look at the medal list and trophy list he has. But everyone has regrets. But overall, I mean, if you asked me, say 15 years ago, that I'd be sitting here today with what I've done, I'd take your hand off, or take both hands. Yeah.
How have you found that transition? I mean, you talk about going to see games with your son Kevin and that feeling in the crowd.
It's good. It's
No, it's not.
Well, look, it took a while. It took a while. It took a while. All right, it took a while for me to get around. But I'm an unashamed rugby fan now. I'll watch it, even though it's not my job anymore. I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna watch it, and look, it's a way for me to bond with the young fella too, because he's rugby obsessed, and he'll be very disappointed if he doesn't go professional. So
actually, there's a beautiful story involving him and Johnny Sexton.
Yeah,
at a hotel where he's called in.
Yeah, and he's Johnny's teaching him how to kick.
Yeah,
So, but I watch him in the garden now, and he's out there the whole time, and he's mimicking different kicking styles.
Okay.
So, I remember actually one kick. So when he was in junior infants, it was one Wednesday morning. The guys were down kicking at the Viva, and they said, "Why don't you bring Kevin down, and we'll do something with him after the session?" So I brought him down, and Johnny Sexton, Ian Madigan, and Paddy Jackson spent time with him kicking the ball around. I still have video of that, and
nice.
He came home and he was absolutely just bursting.
Yeah,
he was so happy.
Yeah,
it just shows you the generosity of the guys there to spend a bit of time with him at the end of a session. I mean, they have a big game at the weekend. They don't need to be spending longer out than they have to, but there they were, and they were cheering him on, and he's taking his kicks.
Yeah, and bonus dad points for Mike Ross as well. I mean,
it was great, but unfortunately, he's got a jersey with 10 on the back, so I don't know how to break it to him that he's got my genetics too. So if he's lucky, he might end up on the flank.
Yeah. I have no doubt the thing that I suspect most people have responded to in the book and talked to you about since the book's publication and going on the Late Late Show is the passing of your brother Andrew.
Yeah.
What has that response been like?
It's been a bit of an eye opener. No, I always knew that suicide was kind of a silent epidemic in Ireland, but the amount of people that have reached out to me since with similar stories or have had similar experiences. It's been a bit depressing actually, but at the same time it just shows you that it is out there, and but at the same time I think we do have more support in Ireland than we ever had for that.
Yeah. What do they want you to say back, or what is it? Just to share,
it's just to share, and to acknowledge, and say, look, I've been in the same boat. So
I wonder, is that because unless you've gone through suicide in particular, it's very hard to explain to people?
Yeah, maybe it is, and it's probably a common bond you wish you didn't have, but at the same time, it's just been enlightening, because guys I'd known for years, I'd never known anything about it.
Really?
Yeah. But this might have been from their childhood or when they were younger, or that sort of way.
Yeah. It's a very difficult thing to talk about in as little depth as you want. It's 21 years now?
Yeah.
I guess the most horrific morning of your life, the memories of it, and again, we don't have to spend any great time talking about it because it is very sensitive and people can read about it in the book. But your memories of the morning?
Well, we'd been into school, and my brother Andrew hadn't wanted to go in that morning because he didn't have his homework done, so there was a bit of an argument about that, and eventually my mother went, screw it, and just took the rest of us in. So it was myself, my two brothers, my sister, and we were in the local school in Coleman's in Fermoy, and my sister she probably was, I don't know, she might have been in secondary yet, but so about halfway through the morning, the priest called us in and told us we had to go home, and there had been an accident. And I tried to get what are you talking about here? What's the accident? And eventually been told me your brother's dead. So went back home, and he'd shot himself on the landing of the stairs, and obviously my mother was in bits, and at the time I just walked past him, and there's a guy out in the guy who worked for us, Jim Bob, and he was in the middle of the milking, so there's still stuff to be finished. So I went and got changed, just walked back out, because I probably just didn't want to deal with it at the time.
That sounds like the most straightforward case of shock you can imagine.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because it's not an appropriate response.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's just like, I'm not dealing with this right now. I'm going out.
Like you went into automatic mode.
Yeah. And the days that kind of come after where, you found out there's a lot of people there supporting you, and they're like, in rural communities, you got everyone calling over to the house. I think we probably had about 1,000 sandwiches, know, so. Yeah. But, and the funeral was absolutely massive.
You were 17, he was 16, and it's very clear from the book that you maybe knew him best of everyone. Like shared a bed and just basically twins in kind of a way. Twins. And you say we suspected nothing. This was not on the horizon in any shape or form. Like
we no indication of anything coming. Often you hear that you hear about people who've shown signs like they start giving away their possessions, or they just seem really upbeat after, because they've made the decision. So
it's a release almost.
It's a release almost, but no, nothing like that. It just seemed like he was his normal self.
Yeah. And you say one of the interesting effects on the family, maybe you're a bit gentler with each other now. It's kind of put everything into a sharp perspective.
Yeah, like we have squabbles, but I don't think we've ever had a serious fight.
Yeah.
In that regard, so I don't know. Maybe it's just the kinder part of it.
Yeah. How did you recover and do your Leaving Cert within a year and go to college and not just retreat from the world, I suppose?
It took a while.
Yeah.
I suppose for myself, I just wanted to get back to a sense of normality. So I did all the typical college teenage things. I was playing with UCC. I went up through I joined. They put me in the minors, and I was in the seniors within 4 weeks. We actually won the Students' European Cup the first year I joined. So we got brought on at half-time the Ulster Columbia game at Lansdowne Road. So, travelling away trips, shaving your head, to go. And then I went to the States a couple of years afterwards. And
yeah. I would even think trying to study for your Leaving Cert, which can be monotonous and your mind can wander at the best of times, even trying to do that quickly on the back of this is a fair achievement to get that done.
Yeah, I didn't really think about it at the time. I just knew that I wanted to go to college. I was at a degree of natural book smart, so I was able to get by on that and get enough points. I knew I wasn't going for 600 points for leaving. I needed 420. I got 450.
Okay,
so that was fine. And I got into my course in UCC, which was biotech.
Yeah. As a kind of strange, I guess, postscript to it all, you thought there was no letter for a long time, and then it turned out, it seems in a fairly casual conversation, your mother let slip, there was a letter. Yeah,
because I sent down the chapter on Andrew to her, and she goes, "Oh, actually, there was a note." I was like, "What?" And talking to my siblings since, that she told them before, but for whatever reason, she'd never mentioned it to me. But it's not really something you want to bring up in casual conversation. Oh, by the way, I've had this note for 20 years. Do you want to see it?
Yeah. Hard to pick your moment.
That moment. Yeah. How do you pick that moment? So I read it, and it was quite hard to read. One, because he'd scrunched it up into a ball and thrown it behind a wardrobe where my mother had found it about a year later. And two, he was quite emotional when he wrote it.
I'm sure.
So it was weird. It kind of took me back, like I was 17 again reading it. So I just felt pretty pissed off with him afterwards. Because
that's probably very natural though. It's like because you say he's talking about stuff like, well, I feel I'm not very clever or I'm ugly, and you think, God,
would you look at yourself?
And as there's pictures of him in the book, he looks like a fantastic fella. You say he's very clever. Yeah. It's whatever sickness can happen in the mind sometimes.
I think it was just an impulse. for whatever reason. Maybe a fit of anger or a fit of depression or something, and unfortunately he chose a fairly drastic course of action that there was no coming back from.
Yeah. I guess 20 years on, you talk about grief actually in a very interesting way. I say this, I've lost no one comparably close like that, and it's the one certainty in life, I guess we all will at some stage, unfortunately, But you quote a passage about grief, which I thought was incredibly insightful and interesting. You liken it to waves almost.
Yeah, and that's what it's like. I mean, because you kind of, it just comes at you in waves. I mean, something might trigger it. You might hear a song on the radio that he liked, or you'll go past his favourite chipper or something like that.
Innocuous, small
little things, and it'll just remind you, and you get drowned beneath that feeling for 10 or 20 seconds, and then you're back. And I came across that piece on the website, and I thought it was really good, so I had to stick it in there. But
the sense is almost over time the waves can become a bit less frequent and maybe a little less tall, and you drown a little bit less, but then again, a wave can still come. Yeah,
you can still get that rogue wave to just sweep over you, and so like you can see him coming sometimes. So maybe around his birthday or around Christmas or that kind of way. But when you're looking around the table and you realise there should be one more person sitting there.
Yeah. What effect do you think it's had on you?
It's hard to say. It's probably made me a bit more thoughtful. Like, for instance, if I'm going to have a go at someone, I have to be absolutely sure that there is a valid reason for this, and probably makes me try and look at things from other people's perspective a bit more, which it doesn't, it's not a bad way to be anyway, but maybe I've probably been a bit too generous to people than I should have been at times.
It's understandable though, it's a sense of you don't know what's going on with somebody else.
Yeah, so you try and look at it from their perspective and try and figure out what's motivating this, where's this coming from. But I suppose it would also be a bit slower to trust people, or to I suppose leave people see the inner you.
Really?
Yeah, get close to people. That can be even a bit slower about that.
As in, this stuff is too painful to talk about, so I don't want them to see it, or as in they could disappear at a moment's notice?
No, it's not. It's just like I don't know. It's a strange one. It's a strange one.
So I wouldn't have thought trusting people would have been one of the consequences, actually.
No, it's maybe trust is the wrong word. Maybe you don't really show people. Like, people think I'm quiet when they meet me, but once they get to know me, I'm not that quiet. But probably at the start, I'm just kind of like weighing them up a bit more and seeing what they're like before I decide, well, am I going to open up to them a bit?
Well, I guess so. I mean,
and Irish people are like that anyway, until you get a bit of drink into them.
Probably a bit of that going on as well. Yeah. I can imagine the reaction you've had, because I mean, it's very difficult to talk about, and actually it's written about so beautifully that people can read the chapter. I'm sure it'll be a comfort to some people as well. I'm not surprised you got people coming at you and sharing the story, and there's it is such a terrible thing that it's such an epidemic in this country, and I saw a study the other day when it comes to things like anxiety and depression and all these various things. We're really high up for whatever reason on this small little island. It is a big issue here. Yeah,
but thankfully, attitudes are changing.
Yeah, because
sure. My sister only told me a couple of weeks ago that a few months after Andrew died, some girls from our school came up to her and said, "We can't be friends with you anymore because your brother committed a sin."
Stop.
No, and they didn't lick that off the ground.
They heard that in the house.
They heard that in the house. So, I'm still mad over hearing that. But thankfully, attitudes are changing, and I mean, mental illness is just like a physical illness. Your brain gets sick just like anything else. So why should there be a stigma attached to it?
Yeah, absolutely. So the plan for the next 40 years?
Watch my kids grow up and see them safely settled. Pretty much.
And how's work?
Good. I'm working with a company called Wizuda, so if you want secure data transfer, we're your people. There's a shameless plug.
Work away, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a business development for them, and I'm quite enjoying it. It's I kind of been kicked in at the deep end, but at the same time, it's the best way to learn. It's the best way to learn, and every day is different. I'm getting out and around and meeting new people. I mean, I'm drinking a lot of coffee, but
happens.
I drink that anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah. The book's great. I really enjoyed it. There's tons in there we didn't even touch. So Dark Arts, again, I'll hold it up for the camera. Dark Arts by Mike Ross is out now, and well worth the read, as I'm sure the interview has suggested. Congrats on a brilliant career, by the way.
Thanks very much.
Well done, and best of luck with the book. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.